The day began like any normal morning at Heartland, but Amy couldn't shake the strange feeling weighing on her chest. She tried to brush it off as a lack of sleep, maybe too much work with the horses. But the uneasy silence around her kept returning. Even the air felt different, still and heavy, almost as if the land itself was holding its breath. As she walked across the yard, she noticed Spartan standing stiff, ears pricked, watching the tree line with a sharp focus that made her stop in her tracks. Spartan never reacted like that unless something was wrong. Amy moved closer, hoping it was just a wild animal passing through. But the longer she watched, the more certain she became that Spartan wasn't just looking, he was alert, cautious, almost afraid. Ty came out of the clinic a few minutes later, wiping his hands on a towel, ready to tease her about being up so early. But the moment he saw her expression, the smile faded from his face. He followed her gaze toward the trees, his eyes narrowing with concern. He didn't say anything at first, he didn't have to. The worry inside him matched hers perfectly. He walked over to Spartan's stall to calm him. But something on the ground made him freeze. A set of tire tracks leading behind the barn. Tracks that weren't there the night before. Ty crouched down, touching the marks lightly, and felt a sharp wave of unease settle in his stomach. These tracks weren't from anyone they knew. Whoever had driven there had no reason to be that close to the horses unless they wanted something. Amy stepped closer and asked if it was something to worry about. She expected Ty to shake his head, tell her she was over, but instead, he stood up slowly, jaw tightening, eyes darkening the way they always did when he sensed trouble. He didn't say it out loud, but they both knew the truth. Someone had been too close to the barn, too close to their home, and too close to their daughter. Before they could talk more, Jack and Tim came out, arguing about repairs on the fence. Their voices carried across the yard, sharp and loud, but the tension between Ty and Amy made everything else fade into the background. When Jack saw the tire marks, his whole posture changed. The arguments stopped. Tim stopped talking too. They all bent down in silence, studying the tracks as the heavy feeling in the air grew stronger. Jack straightened up and looked around the ranch with the same protective seriousness he had worn ever since Amy was a child. He said the tracks didn't belong to anyone who'd been working on the property. Tim added that someone must have come late in the night, maybe even while they were all asleep. His tone wasn't dramatic, it was sharp, grounded, deadly serious. Amy felt a cold shiver move through her as she imagined someone creeping so close without anyone knowing. She glanced back toward the house, where Lindy was still asleep, safe and unaware, and her heart squeezed painfully. Whatever was happening, whatever this was, it was no longer just about the ranch. It was about their family. Ty paced a few steps back, thinking deeply, trying to piece things together. He mentioned a strange feeling he'd had at the clinic the previous evening. Like someone had been inside before he arrived. A drawer left slightly open, tools shifted just enough to notice. At the time, he'd brushed it off, but now, with the tire tracks and Spartan's behavior, it didn't feel like a coincidence anymore. Amy's voice shook when she asked what this meant. Ty didn't want to scare her, but he also refused to pretend nothing was wrong. He told her they needed to be careful, stay alert, and keep Lindy close. Jack suggested they increase security around the house. But Amy knew deep down that more fences and locks wouldn't stop whoever had done this. Danger wasn't at a distance anymore. It was already watching, already waiting, already close. Amy's fear grew heavier, but so did her determination. Whatever it took, she would protect her daughter and stand beside Ty. Yet even as she tried to calm herself, one thought echoed in her mind like a warning she couldn't ignore. This was just the beginning. The uneasy morning slowly shifted into a tense afternoon, and the air around Heartland grew heavier with each passing hour. Amy tried to focus on her chores, telling herself the tracks could have been nothing more than a lost driver turning around. But deep down, she knew Heartland wasn't the kind of place people wandered into by accident. Every time she walked past the barn, she found herself glancing over her shoulder, feeling the same sharp chill she'd felt earlier. Even the horses sensed the change, moving restlessly and lifting their heads at the slightest sound, as if the entire ranch could feel eyes watching from somewhere beyond the trees. Ty spent most of the afternoon at the clinic, but his mind wasn't on his work. He kept replaying every strange moment from the last few days. Tools slightly moved, that strange quiet he couldn't explain. The more he thought about it, the stronger his suspicion grew. When he finally stepped outside for air, something new caught his attention. One of the side windows had a faint fingerprint smudge on it, smeared across the glass at an angle that didn't match his own. He reached